Donald Trump has declared that transgender individuals will not be allowed to join the military. He advised everyone about this through Twitter, which is his favorite form of communicating with the American people. And it was a series of tweets. Let me go ahead and read them to you. He said, after consultation with my generals and military experts, please be advised that the United States government will not accept or allow transgender individuals to serve in any capacity in the US military. Our military must be focused on decisive and overwhelming victory and cannot be burdened with the tremendous medical costs and disruption that transgender in the military would entail. Thank you. Okay, so there is no tremendous medical cost. In fact, there have been studies that looked into this. One of those studies was released in May of 2016 by the Rand Corporation. In fact, the Pentagon commissioned that study, and what they found, and I think this is very relevant to the discussion, was that letting transgender people serve openly would have, quote, a minimal impact on readiness and healthcare costs, largely because there are so few in the military. There are 1.3 million members of the military, and the transgender component of the military is about 1,300 to 6,000 individuals, okay? Yeah. So it's hard to have exact numbers because some, it's based on self-reporting and things like that. But it would not be a huge cost burden at all. I think this is just a way to distract from all of the negative press he's been getting in regard to Russia and that investigation.
Of course.
Yeah, he's just such a clown.
Let me just dive a little further into the facts. So of the people who would need any kind of healthcare related expenses, whether it's hormone treatment or otherwise, in the military in any given year, it would range from a whopping 25 people to all the way up to 140 people in a force of, as Anna pointed out, 1.3 million people. The Rand study was a little bit more specific, and the folks at Rand Corporation ain't nobody's liberals, okay? So the Pentagon says, Rand, give us a study on this. They go crunch the numbers. They're like, okay, this is the best we can come up with. And they said that the amount that would go to dealing with transgender healthcare costs would be, quote, an exceedingly small proportion of total health expenditures.
I mean, you want to have a conversation about wasting money in the military, right? We just did a story this week about how the Pentagon wasted $28 million on providing uniforms to Afghan soldiers that were only meant to be used in a forest setting. They don't fight in the forest, they fight in the desert. So they were completely useless uniforms. And there's never any conversation about that $28 million that was just wasted. And by the way, I know that's a drop in the bucket considering how much money we funneled to the Defense Department. But it's just one example of how much waste there is in the military. And you have the audacity to talk about, the couple thousand transgender people that we have who are risking their lives to fight for this country. We can't take care of them. Too expensive.
So let me go more into that. So only 2% of Afghanistan is forced. So it was a preposterous decision, and since 2007, it's actually cost us $71 million, totally thrown in the garbage, okay? But way less than that for transgender people, we can't have it. You know that, I mean, look at what Anna just told you. I mean, think about it, just let it sink in for a second. They are ready to die for this country. They signed up, they can have their arms and legs blown off in places like Iraq, Afghanistan, and that has already happened to a lot of folks that served the military. There's members of Navy SEAL 6 who are transgender. You want to go tell them what, they're not patriotic enough? You don't want them in the armed forces? But Donald Trump, you never signed up, and you had every chance in the world. Vietnam was happening when you were of age. You got 5 deferments, and now you're telling trans people they can't serve. They can't risk their lives for their country. He pretended after he got out of school that he had bone spurs in his foot. It was such a bad lie that when asked during campaigning, hey, which foot was it in? He's like, I don't remember. Oh, I see, it was a devastating injury that kept you out of the war. But now to score cheap political tricks, you're gonna go after patriotic Americans who are looking to defend all of our freedoms, and they sign up to defend our freedoms, and you strip their freedoms away.
Right.
And look, this issue is more than just trans people, and the effect that it has on the LGBT community is enormously important. I don't want to minimize it, but it's about all of us. It's about saying, no, we don't believe freedom applies to everybody. We don't believe that we should be equal. So there's some people in this country who say there's certain people, used to be based on race, still is for some folks. Now we're switching it. We're switching it to sexual identity. We're switching it to religion. So if you're in a certain religion or you're sexual, you're not equal. You're not equal. You have lesser rights than us. You're less American than us. No, I think they're way more American than you because they actually understand the principles of this country. So Trump and the people who applaud this decision are grotesque and they have no idea what it means to be an American.
You know, during the Obama administration, the don't ask, don't tell policy was firmly in place until Obama did something about it. And so that would allow members of the LGBT community, not just trans individuals, but anyone in that community to join the military. They wouldn't have to worry about being discriminated against. The component of Obama's directive would allow transgender military members to start joining without any fear of discrimination July 1st. James Mattis gets involved, and of course this is now during the Trump administration, and decides to postpone that July 1st decision, right? What was supposed to go into effect July 1st. And then all of a sudden we get these tweets from Trump. And so I just find it all super interesting, considering the fact that when Trump was running, he claimed that he was very pro-LGBT. He was so much more pro-LGBT than Hillary Clinton. If you don't believe me, hear it from him. Here's what he had to say about that.
I refuse to allow America to become a place where gay people, Christian people, Jewish people are targets of persecution and intimidation by radical Islamic preachers of hate and violence. Remember this, radical Islam is anti-woman, anti-gay, and anti-American. If we want to protect the quality of life for all Americans, women and children, gay and straight, Jews and Christians, and all people, then we need to tell the truth about radical Islam, and we need to do it now. It's a strike at the heart and soul of who we are as a nation. It's an assault on the ability of free people to live their lives, love who they want, and express their identity. It's an attack on the right of every single American to live in peace and safety in their own country. Hillary Clinton can never claim to be a friend of the gay community as long as she continues to support immigration policies that bring Islamic extremists to our country and who suppress women, gays, and anyone else who doesn't share their views or values. And by the way, the LGBT community is just, what's happened to them is just so sad. And to be thinking about where their policies are currently with this administration is a disgrace to that community, I will tell you right now. She can't have it both ways. She can't claim to be supportive of these communities while trying to increase the number of people coming in who want to oppress these same communities. Ask yourself, who is really the friend of women and the LB and LGBT community? Donald Trump with actions or Hillary Clinton with her words? I will tell you who the better friend is, and someday I believe that will be proven out bigly.
I mean, who needs radical Islamic extremists when you have someone like Donald Trump who does exactly what he just criticized radical Islamic extremists for doing, right? Violating the rights of women, violating the rights of the LGBT community, which he can't even get.
It's in a prompter. He's reading from a prompter and still can't get it right.
Yeah, it's amazing.
He's like, you will find out who is a true friend of the BLT community, okay?
That's
big league.
like a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah, so, well, we did find out. We found out today. So what he was trying to do there, he's pretending to be on LGBT community's side so that he could enlist them on hating Muslim people. So he's like, okay, so let's hate these guys one at a time. And then you think he's not going to turn on you later? Well, he just did. And of course, great credit to all the leaders in that community. They didn't believe him for a second. And they didn't buy it back then. Back then, Chad Griffin, president of the Human Rights Campaign, said, LGBTQ people, we are Muslims, we are women, we are Latinos, we are as diverse as the fabric of this nation, and any attack on one of us is an attack on all of us. So God bless his heart for saying the right thing back then, and obviously LGBT community, along with all of us, are now outraged at the latest actions of Donald Trump to discriminate against that community, as he was looking forward to discriminating against Muslims earlier in that statement. And by the way, I mean, come on, even if you're a Donald Trump supporter, you know he's a pathological liar. Did you really believe him there when he said he was going to be a bigger friend to the gay community than Hillary Clinton and the Democrats? You didn't believe him. You knew he was lying through his teeth, because you're celebrating some of his actions today, right?
Right, and they didn't even care that he was lying, because that's something that the right wing wants, right? They like to differentiate themselves from other fundamentalists, but how are you different if you're fighting tooth and nail to take away reproductive rights for women? You're fighting tooth and nail to do away with the protesting rights of Americans that disagree with you. You're fighting tooth and nail to do away with any type of progress that we've had for the LGBT community. I mean, they think that they're so much better and they're so much more, self-righteous. It's all BS, and it's so incredibly disheartening and sad to see that he will go to this extreme just to distract everyone from the fact that he's a clown, that he's facing a serious investigation, and he just wants people to focus on something completely different. Here's a nice shiny little object that you guys can focus on so we don't talk about other issues.
Help us build independent media. Become a member of the Young Turks. TYTnetwork.com/join.